Good morning, everyone. This is our postponed Chinese New Year, which is the year of the monkey this year. And this year, the animal, the monkey, in the Buddhist way of looking at things, has to do with the monkey mind. Xiankuan. Xiankuan. Okay, thank you. So, the mind of the monkey. So I want to talk a little bit about the monkey mind and how easy it is for us to slip into monkey mind, but also maybe if we learn to be more mindful, we can learn how to practice during this year particularly and going forward how to not be so caught up in the monkey mind. When we look at the 5 hindrances, for example, we can say that the monkey mind would be related to the restless mind, the mind that's jumping around and is very difficult to control. In our country, we don't have too many monkeys, except maybe at the zoo. So I like to talk about sometimes the monkey mind being like the puppy brain, always interested in something going on, very difficult to train. But once the puppy brain is trained, then it's very nice to be around a puppy that has, and a dog who has been well trained. This is really a great blessing. So in the same way, when we learn how to train our minds, or we're around someone whose mind is trained, we feel very, very happy. This is a very happy experience for us, because the monkey mind always will get us into some kind of trouble. It's looking for entertainment, but often gets into trouble. There was a great Zen master of the 17th century, 18th century also. His name was Xiankuan. And he was a great poet and also a great painter. And he has this wonderful painting of a monkey that's hanging by a branch who's pointing to a pool of water. And the poem goes like this. The monkey is reaching for the moon in the water. Until death overtakes him, he will never give up. If only he would let go of the branch and disappear into the deep pool, the whole world would shine with dazzling clearness, sometimes dazzling pureness, depending on the translation. So this wonderful poem by Master Xiankuan is illustrated by the monkey who's pointing to the moon in the water. This is a very important image in Chan and Zen. The moon reflected in the water. Shui Zhong Rui. Thank you. Say it again for me. Shui Zhong Rui. Okay. This moon in the water is an example of what we would call insubstantiality. When we do the chanting from Master Fa Rong, you'll see that we talk about unsubstantial. What's unsubstantial? The moon reflected in the water is an example of what's unsubstantial. The moon is not in the water, we know that, just the reflection. We don't understand so easily that every experience that we have, and we know this from science, when we look at something, what we're actually observing is a reflection of that object in the mind based on our senses. I've talked about this before. We don't actually see the object as it is, we see it as we are, based on our senses. If we had different sense organs, if we had electron microscopes for eyeballs, when we looked at things, we would see things completely differently. It's just a reflection of what we experience, and then we see it in the mind, and then particularly we superimpose onto this image lots of thoughts, lots of feelings, oftentimes desires. We superimpose onto it, oh, I like this table so much. Maybe I could take it home with me. In the Prajnaparamita Sutras, this moon reflected in the water is one of what's called the 10 metaphors. There's even a reference to this for the Guanyin. We have the Guanyin pavilion here, the Guanyin, the mind state of compassion. Avalokiteshvara is gazing at the moon in the water. Shui, yeah, Guanyin, close.
水月观音。
These references go back very far. Nagarjuna, in the 1st century, considered one of the great founders of Mahayana Buddhism, the Madhyamaka school, says, those who grasp at the notion, I will be free from grasping and nirvana will be mine, have a great grasp on grasping. If you've ever had the experience of sitting in meditation and perhaps you've given yourself the instruction of, I'm going to go through all the different parts of my body, and you're going through the different parts and you've gone through one part, and suddenly you get excited about the fact that you're going to be enlightened. And for the next half hour, your mind is thinking about how enlightened you're going to be, and you've forgotten about your practice. This is called having a great grasp on grasping. Also, in the Zen tradition, Dogen of the 13th century said, enlightenment is like the moon reflecting on the water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water broken. Although its light is wide and great, the moon is reflected even in a puddle an inch wide. The whole moon and the entire sky are reflected in one dewdrop on the grass. There are many phrases in Chinese that talk about the monkey mind. One, it goes like this: the mind like a horse and a heart like a monkey. This is the mind of the human being, which is filled with delusions, is restless and intractable as horses and monkeys running about. I'll try this. Yi ma xin guan. Close. Getting better. Of course, we remember the image of the 3 monkeys. One guarding his eyes, the other the ears, the third its mouth, of see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Another image is of the 6 windows and the 1 monkey. Liu Qiang Yi Huan. Be close. Did I copy that one down?
No.
Okay. The 6 organs are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. This is typical of the mind of illusion, is trying to pluck the moon out of the water. this grand illusion that we have. So this deluded monkey sees the reflection of the moon in the water. It's like an unenlightened person who takes the perceptual appearance for what is real and thinks that somehow there's some kind of great value in the perceptual world. Another Chinese phrase is Xiankuan. This is the emotions of the mind, of the monkey. The mind is never still. When the water is still, the bright moon appears. This is another phrase. Shui chang ming wei xian. Do I have that one down on there? The water is like the symbol for the mind. The bright moon is like the symbol for awakening. All of this is the transformation of the monkey mind. Another phrase in Chinese is fo yue, fo re. The moon, the Buddha moon, the Buddha being mirrored in the human heart like the moon is in the pure water, which is like the Buddha sun, which drives away the darkness of ignorance and delusion. In the Jataka tales, there's actually a story about a kingdom of monkeys who are threatened by a water demon. And the monkey king outwits the water demon and saves all the monkeys. One of the wonderful stories that comes out of the actual real character of the monk Xiankuan. This is a book that is written called Journey to the West that almost every Chinese person probably reads when they're in school. Did you have to read this as or parts of it growing up?
They created many fables and stories based on that.
So Xiankuan is a real monk who went from China through the passes of the mountains and through the Indus Valley and risked his life to go to Nalanda to study and to research the real meaning of Buddhism and the practices and the understanding. And his story is actually quite famous. And Xiankuan, I understand that there's a new movie coming out that Venerable Kongshi told me about, that she saw the preview to it when she was in Los Angeles. And we hope to see it soon. And it's in Chinese, it's subtitled. Yeah. So in the mythical version of Xiankuan's journey to India during the Tang Dynasty, 7th century, he is joined by 3 animals, one a monkey, another a pig, and then a water demon. And the monkey king is the main character who helps the monk along the way. His name is Sun Wukong. Is this right? I don't know that I have it in here. In this novel, this character is a monkey born from a stone who acquires supernatural powers through Taoist practices, and after rebelling against heaven and being imprisoned under a mountain, he later accompanies the monk on a journey to retrieve the Buddhist sutras. So there are several Chinese folk tales. One is called the Jinzhong Lao Yue. Do I have that on there? Called Scooping, how do you say it? The scooping the moon out of the well water. And this is like a ladle that where the moon is scooped out of a well, And this is a parable about monkeys who saw the moon that fell into the well, and fearing that there would be no more moonlight, they sought to save it. And the monkey king hung on to a branch, and one hung on to his tail, and so on and so forth, until the branch broke and all the monkeys fell into the well and were drowned. Delusion. And this became, in Japanese, a very famous folk tale called Enko Suko Getsu. It's a very similar story about that. And there are many paintings about these monkeys that are hanging on to each other and then falling into the pool. This sense of delusion, of not being able to see things really as they are, very much is something that is echoed in the Diamond Sutra, where in the last chapters it said all composed things are like a dream, a phantom, and in our version by Thich Nhat Hanh leaves out two of the Chinese characters, a piece of foam, a shadow, a drop of dew, a flash of lightning. That is how to meditate on them, that is how to observe them. Iche yo wei fa, wu mong guang pao yin. Yes. Wu wo, yi wu bian, yin wu zu wu Xiankuan. Something like that, close. I have that on the other side. So, in the Diamond Sutra, they have these 6 examples of emptiness and impermanence: the dream, the illusion, the foam, the bubbles, the shadow, the dew, and the lightning. This is something that is very well known to those people who practice with the Diamond Sutra. There's another sutra that has a very similar sequence called the Vimala Kirti Sutta. And in this particular sutta, that's very popular with lay people because it's a story about a lay person who is very, very wise. The metaphors that are used there are the illusion, lightning, dream, fire, the moon reflecting in the water, and the image reflected in a mirror. So again, this image of the moon reflecting in the water is very powerful. So one of the ways to help us not to be so attached to our experiences with strong emotions, getting upset because things don't go our way, lots of remorse when that happens, oh, things aren't going my way. This very strong restlessness to want to find some kind of entertainment. Either I'm entertained, or I'm unhappy, or I'm bored. This is a very common experience that the untrained mind has. Not realizing that those moments are designed for us to be able to practice well. When we learn to use those moments where we don't have any demand for us to do something in the external world, we can practice, we can calm our mind, we can learn how to recognize that these strong emotions that we have, this restlessness that we have, is really just us trying to reach for the moon in the water. So I'm going to end my short talk with one more poem by Xiankuan Zenji, 1689 to 1769. One of my favorite poems by him, other than the one that I shared with you. This is another one. called You No Sooner Attain the Great Void. This is the name of the poem. You no sooner attain the great void than body and mind are lost together. Heaven and hell, a straw. The Buddha realm, pandemonium, shambles. Listen, a nightingale strains her voice serenading the snow. Look, a tortoise wearing a sword climbs the lampstand. Should you desire the great tranquility, prepare to sweat white beads. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the altruistic joy which is free from suffering. And may all beings dwell in the great equanimity which is free from attachment, aversion,